Okay, so yeah, a really like key question I kind of wanted to ask you, I was really happy when I got this opportunity, is I've just been put forward for England trials. Like this is my first ever like thing in, I'm still quite young. So I just kind of wanted to ask what the setup was like, how it's you obviously as an England athlete, just kind of what it was about, like what, I don't know what it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Well, firstly, congrats on getting your trial. That's amazing. And yeah, I don't. To be honest, it might have changed slightly since I'm a bit old now, so it might have changed slightly since I had my very first England trial when I was probably about your age as well. But usually, you go along and you might have like a bit of match play, so you'll kind of just be put into random teams. And you'll do some match play and the selectors will be there watching. So I guess that in itself can be a little bit nerve-wracking because you might not. What team do you play for?
So I play for London Pulse.
Okay.
17. So yeah.
Yeah. So I guess like sometimes the scary thing about trials is you go and you might not know a lot of people. So I guess my kind of tip would be before you go on court, just to try and say, for example, if you are playing wing defence, just try and have a little quick conversation with maybe your centre, find out their name because you might not even know their name, which is just crazy. And at least then you can have some communication with them and you know their name and you can say Gabby left, Gabby right, or whatever it might be. And I think that will probably just help you feel a bit more comfortable because like naturally it's a trial, so you might feel a little bit nervous going into it, and obviously you want to do the best that you can do. And I think for me, whenever I was going into trials, it was just really nice to try and just have a little conversation with the people I was going to be playing with. If I knew them, great, like that was a bonus, and if I didn't, then at least then you could build a bit of a connection, and that kind of helped me settle, I think. But you've been given a trial for a reason, so I think it's just kind of trying to go into it confident, knowing that you've obviously done some really good stuff before, and the selectors have seen that. And yeah, just feel like you can just give it your best shot, and that's all you can do.
Oh yeah. Carrying on from just that instruction. And also just kind of like, what are your, I'd say obviously because wing defense I think is my favorite position, I really want to like hone in on it. So like what would you say is the best tips to like kind of just improve like working with other people, like how to like best defensive styles, ways?
Yeah, of course. I think wing defense, sometimes it's like the job that people, it goes really it's a really underappreciated role, I think, playing wing defense. Obviously I can say that because I play wing defense. But I think something that you can always improve on is your footwork and your ability to dictate to your opponent like where you want them to go. And like we're in training camp at the moment, and we had a session this morning on like making sure that as the defender you're really dictating to your opponent. So like regardless of where the ball is on the court, even if your team have the ball, just making sure that you're always like thinking, where am I going to send my wing attack? Where do I want her to go? Where am I pushing her to either win ball myself or work with my centre or my goal defence? And I think that's, again, I'm probably more comfortable playing centre, but this season I did play a bit more wing defence. So I guess that's something that I always have to work on, is just trying to like make sure that I'm forcing my player where I want them to go. And it is a battle, especially like, for example, on centre passes, because the wing attacker is gonna want to do what they want to do, and they'll have setups and they'll have things to try and kind of counteract your movements. But I guess we call it zero phase. I don't know if you've heard that expression before. So it's just making sure that it's a lovely expression. Everybody loves that one at the moment. But yeah, just making sure that you're really on it and making sure that you're kind of, I guess, confident with what you want to do, because then you will start putting doubt in the wing attack's mind then. I think that's really important.
And also from that, I guess in terms of centre, believe it or not, last year I was a wing attack centre. Like I have done quite a dramatic shift to defence. I've got quite tall now. I think that's part of the reason I've gone down. But I'm definitely stronger at my defence. But in terms of centre, kind of maybe tips for attack or how to balance it, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing too much or like when I kind of need to help out down court, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think centres, I guess that's probably the biggest challenge of the position, is knowing you almost have to read what's going on in the attacking third and just kind of balance it accordingly, I guess. And that's hard because it takes kind of time and experience to know whether you're the one who needs to drive through or whether it's your wing attacks to go, or whoever it might be, kind of depending on the situation. So I guess, yeah, that is quite a tough one. And especially if you've played more wing attack beforehand, I guess just you almost have to kind of go with your instinct, I suppose. And I think we speak a lot around if you go and you go hard, then at least everybody else can kind of read off you. So if you go and you're a bit half-hearted and you hover around and you block space, then I guess that's really hard then for your wing attack and your goal attack to know what to do or where to go. Whereas at least if you go definite and you go hard, whether that's sat into the forward or to get depth, then everybody else then can kind of read off you as well. So I think that's a big one, is just kind of being definite with your movement as an attacker.
I really appreciate. Obviously, I'm just got the school games coming up, trying to get as many tips in before like going.
Yeah. How are you feeling for the school games? Are you excited?
Yeah, I am. I'm really excited because I've been playing up with under-17s, but now I've like come back, so we've got a new team, like we're all getting to know each other, like,
yeah.
And it's the first kind of thing I've done, because obviously last year with COVID, when I would have originally been like to go, it got cancelled. So like,
okay,
it's kind of exciting. I don't really know what to expect. It's just kind of cool.
Yeah. Has it been tough with COVID? Like, because I know a lot of age group stuff got cancelled, didn't it? And obviously you've probably not been able to train for quite a while.
Since March last season, from there we were just completely online, and then we kind of like came back, then went online for a large chunk. I've only really came back since kind of April, so it's like we definitely missed out, because I think we were like under 18, we couldn't go back when all of the older like ages have gone back. So I think it's definitely hard, and like doing the little drills in your garden and like trying to like keep fit and keep motivated, even though like being on a screen, which isn't like, it's quite hard, you know what I mean, like mentally as well.
Yeah. No, I found it tough as well. We had a period, especially in the first lockdown, we had to do a lot of stuff online as well. And obviously since then, I've been really fortunate that we can go back and train, and like definitely it's made me appreciate it a lot more because of all the time that we had on Zoom as well. And I didn't have a lot of space in the house, and then the weather, it would be raining and I'd have to go outside and try and be in the garden and trying to do like you said, like footwork patterns, and it's slippy and you think, oh, this is why I play an indoor sport, so I can be in shelter.
Not missing the wind of England, doing the training outside.
Yeah, oh yeah, of course. You probably still do some stuff outside, don't you? Yeah, that's the perk of getting older, is that you get to play indoors more.
Majority outside, the Sunday mornings, like 8 a.m, the pouring rain, like getting used to everything.
Yeah, no, all that makes me think of is like grazing my knees. Like, I used to fall over and graze my knees on the court, and I just, yeah, that was tough. It was tough life, but at least now you're on the other side of it, and you know that you've got school games. And how long is it? Like a month away?
Yeah, it's
September.
The start of September, I'm pretty.
Yeah. So not that long away now, which is exciting.
It's great. And also, like, kind of, how do you deal with like the pressure of like those kind of bigger tournaments? Like, this is my first like big tournament, if that makes sense. Like, just the mental pressure of it as well as like the physical like fitness coming along with it.
Yeah, of course. I think it's just like reminding yourself why you're there, and what made you start playing netball in the first place. I think that always really helped me, because like naturally, whenever you go into something that's new, I think that's a bit scary, because it's like a new environment, it's a new challenge, and naturally you might be a little bit anxious because of that. But I think for me, anytime I start to feel like that, I always go back to, okay, why did I fall in love with netball in the first place? Why do I love playing netball? Like, what are all the great things about it? Like, for me, being with my friends. I love playing the team sport, so that's really cool for me. And just the fact that I love, running around and throwing a catch in a ball, that reminding myself of that when I'm a bit scared going into a big game, I think that really helps me, because it kind of just takes the pressure off, and you just think, okay, well, I started playing because I love it, and yes, now I'm at the school games, which is a big competition for me, but like, you're there because you love playing, and that's the most important thing, I think. You probably want to play well, and you want to win naturally, because we all do, but like, you have to kind of make sure that you're enjoying yourself along the process, because it's great, and all the competitions are fun, and I think you'll play better if you're more relaxed as well.
100%. When the pressure, like if you just have fun, I always find I play way better than when I'm like feeling the pressure.
Yeah, definitely. And it is easier said than done, because like you might arrive there and there'll be lots going on, and obviously there was different sports as well, and you might think, oh, like, this is big, this is something that I've not done before, but then it's just kind of, I think it's good to recognize that, because if you try and like suppress it and push it down, then it'll probably just bubble back over again eventually. So I think it's good to address it, and I think just like remind yourself that everybody gets nervous going into things. Like I played in loads of different tournaments, and I still get nervous going into things, but I think that shows that you care about what you're doing, and that's important as well. So just remind yourself that you started playing because you love it, and that's why you're there, and that's the most important thing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try and take that into it when we get there. Off on the day.
Yeah. Do you know a lot, because you're saying that you play for the under-17, so do you know a lot of the girls that you're playing with, or not really?
Not really. Like there's 2 girls I think that have come down, who have come down from the under-17s, but we're quite a new team, and because we only formed over summer, because we only have this tournament, it's like we're all stages of like getting to know each other, getting to know how each other plays, and also like adjusting to different coaches, I guess, because we don't have the like same people. But it's been really fun, I guess, and it gives me something to do over summer whilst like the main season kind of isn't there. Keeps my fitness
well, it's cool actually, because that'd probably be good. It's almost good prep for your trial, for your England trial, because like that'll be the same sort of thing. I mean, at least this time you have got a month or so to kind of prepare with each other, whereas on that it'll just be the day. But I guess that like can give you the confidence to know that you need to approach the new people that you've not met before, and like build those relationships, and that'll be something that then when you go into your trial, you can think, okay, well, I've done this before, although the time pressure is probably a lot greater. At least you know that you can do it, and you can build those connections, because I think that'll like, that's something that you can definitely take into your trial as well.
And kind of leading on to that, how do you think is the best way to kind of like stand out at a trial, to like kind of get noticed, if that makes sense, when you are in those type of like competitive environments, if that makes sense?
I think just being yourself, I think that's like in anything in life, that is the most important thing, because if you try and do something that's, oh, like, I want to stand out here, and that's not in your character, I think like again you might become more tense, and then start either over analyzing how you're playing, or like just not feeling as comfortable. So I think just being yourself, like I said, you've been given a trial for a reason, so like take that as like a confidence boost, that okay, I've been offered this trial, so they've seen something in me, so just keep doing what you're doing, because I think that is, like I said, you've been given it for a reason. I do think, like what I said earlier around like learning the names of the people that you're playing with, if you can, like if it's hard, like I know some people really struggle remembering names, myself included, so don't, if that's going to really overwhelm you, then
this is your name, this is your name,
advice. Like if you're going to forget how to play netball because you're too busy trying to remember Lauren's name, then don't do that. But I think if you can like remember people's names, or just make sure that you're communicating on court, I think that's important, because like, yes, they're going to be looking for individual like talent, but it's good, obviously netball's a team sport, so it's good to show that you can like communicate with people that you've never played with before, and work as a team. I think that's really important, but also work to your strengths as well, because yeah, like, you're there because you've been doing a good job, so just keep doing that.
Yeah, obviously that really helps, like just anything, take it.
Yeah, no worries. It's all good. It's all good.
And also, like, kind of what kind of stuff do you do kind of away from your training just to keep fit or to help improve? I know you mentioned like footwork patterns that you do like away from, just like anything to kind of just help me improve just in general in like the netball aspect, if that makes sense.
Yeah. When I was younger, we used to do a lot of like ball on wall sessions, so just kind of practicing your skills. And I think it's like we really underestimate the importance of throwing and catching, which I know sounds really silly because that's something that we do a lot of as netballers. But I think like the more practice you can get kind of passing off both hands, like getting around a 3-foot mark, I think it's really important, because at the end of the day, they're the fundamental basics. And although it doesn't sound glamorous and it's not like an exciting thing to do, I think if you can land and take the ball on extension, or you can land and pick out a pass to, as if you're playing centre, to like feed the shooters or play a great ball through court, I think they're the things that, like, if you can kind of nail the basics, it's really important as you kind of get older then, because I think we all really want to be able to do all of the fancy stuff. And yeah, it's fantastic to kind of get a match winning intercept, but you need to be able to nail the basics for 60 minutes of a game, or however long your games are. And that's just as important, because that'll put your team in a position to be able to win games then. So I think, yeah, just kind of spending a lot of time on your passing, even if it's like you get to training and you're 5 minutes early and you can get into the sports hall, just kind of practicing on the wall. Or I don't know whether your shooters, if they like put up some shots before training, like just go in and feeding them. And I think that'll help as well, like leading into the youth games, because like you said, you've not had a lot of time together, so it'll be good to kind of learn how your feeders like the ball, how your shooters like to be fed, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that would kind of be my advice, I guess. And you can never be too fit to play netball, so just keep running, especially if you want to play centre.
I don't know, I was planning to go on a run right after this. I was just like, I should really try and get my fitness in, like try and go, literally plan to go on a run after this.
Yeah, so just keep running, because that's important as a centre. We've had quite a few sessions today, like training sessions, and I've done a lot of running today, so
I really but you know, got to do it for the sport, got to do it for the fitness.
That's it, that's how it works. If you want to play centre, you've got to love to run. That's how it works.
Yeah. And obviously now, so next year I'm going to like do my GCSEs, and obviously like just in exams in general, just how maybe when you're back in school or uni, did you kind of balance doing such high level kind of netball as well as like obviously education, the importance of that and everything, just in terms of how you kind of dealt with that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah, so I had the same kind of issues as well. Like, I was playing netball all the time. I did all like loads of different sports as well when I was in high school. I would play like hockey, football. I was like that kid at school that was just constantly playing sport. And I guess for me it was just really important to be organised, and it sounds really simple and like obvious, but I had a diary, and I would like make sure I knew where I was, and I'd kind of I had it on my wall, so I had like a month each month on the wall, so I could see, okay, in 2 weeks' time I've got this exam, or I've got this piece of work that needs to be done, and then I could see, okay, also in 2 weeks' time I've got a tournament and I'm going to be away in London for the weekend or whatever it might be. And at least then you could kind of see it and kind of visualize it. I didn't like going too far ahead, but I think like a month or two at a time was quite nice, because then you could see where the really busy points were, and you could then maybe have a conversation. Like my school were fantastic, so I could kind of speak to them and say, okay, I've got this tournament that's coming up. Like, is there any way that you could like let me know if there's going to be like any homework that I need to do, or any like extensions that you could give me, or just like anything, because I think they might not realize like how much training you're doing and what you've got going on. So I think it's really important to like communicate that with them, especially because like, they can't help you if they don't know what's going on. But then also like you being proactive with that, I think will really help then as you go like into, if you want to go and do your A levels, or if you want to go to university, then they're the kind of things that it's really great skills to have. Because I went to uni and I studied physiotherapy, and at the same time was kind of prepping for the World Youth Cup in my final year at uni. So I had all sorts coming at me left, right and centre. And if I didn't know how to communicate that with them, then I would have really, I mean, it was tough, but I got through it, and I think I did pretty well at it, because I was able to like speak to my coach and say, okay, I've got loads of uni work here, and then speak to uni and say, okay, I've got loads of netball here, and then at least everybody was on the same page and could help, if that makes sense. And I think it's good to know when your busy points are also, so that you can then kind of plan timing for yourself, because I think that's really important, especially when you're younger. You kind of get pulled in loads of different directions, and then all of a sudden you think, okay, I've not seen my friends now for a long time. So I think it's good to write it down and see it, and you can say, okay, well, this Saturday I've got nothing on, and I'm going to go to the cinema with my friends, or whatever it is that you do when you're 15 years old. I don't even know. But you know what I mean? Like,
pretty much that, to be fair.
do whatever, go and see my friends, and make sure that you kind of take time for yourself as well, because that's just as important, I think.
Well, yeah, I'll take that, obviously. Hopefully still going to develop in it. I've still got GCSEs, A levels, uni, got a lot in school, but yeah. And kind of just when you, it's kind of more lighthearted, but when you like look back on like your career so far, like what are just some of the like things you just always remember, or like stick out to you from it, just like the good moments that you may not have even necessarily realized in that like moment when it was, but just that you look back on?
No, I think it's really cool. Obviously like going to a World Youth Cup was amazing, and we went to Botswana, and so things like that are just, it's kind of like a dream come true. I remember being kind of a young kid, and I used to go and watch England games myself as a fan, and I'd go to Super League games as a fan, and then to kind of now be on the flip side of that, and I've played for England, have played Super League, and I think it's like they're the kind of things that when like you said, it's really easy in the moment to just kind of like keep kind of rolling on to the next thing. And I think when I was younger, I was really bad at celebrating and like recognizing kind of the achievements. So I think like that would be a piece of advice I'd give to you. There's just like, like celebrate all of the little victories, because they're not little, like they're huge. Like getting offered an England trial is like, that's a huge achievement, and something that's like really needs to be celebrated. And not to say that I took anything for granted when I was younger, because I knew that like getting picked for England was a real big deal. I just don't think that I ever kind of stopped and thought like, wow, this is amazing. And I guess like now I'm a bit older, like anything that happens, I just try and really like enjoy the moment a lot more, and like I think it's taken me a bit of time to like realize the journey that I've been on. And it sounds really cliche, but I guess like just knowing that I used to queue up to get Serena Guthrie's autograph, and like now I'm on a training camp with her. I've played international games with her. Honestly, yeah. And I just think like that's just so cool. And yeah, like obviously all the trips that I've been on are fantastic. Like making my England debut was really cool, and going away I went to Fast Five in Australia where we won the Fast Five competition. And again, like I was playing with like people that I used to just kind of grow up watching. So that was a real like pinch myself moment, I guess. But then it's all the little things in between that I think just are really cool, and playing a team sport for me is just amazing, because I've got a big group here. Like we're on a training camp at the moment, and like I'm on it's like I'm working with all of my friends all of the time, and yeah, it's really like there's so many tough moments, and training is really hard, and like the pressure and selections and things like that. But I guess when you flip it on its head and you think, okay, well, I'm living my dream. I used to dream about being in this situation, and just all of the little like moments of just laughing with your friends at the side of the court. Like I don't even know, like funny things that happen. Like Serena spilt her pasta on her trainers the other day, and she put like just things like that happen, and you just think like these are like random memories that I'm making with this bunch of women. It's really cool. So yeah, I'm definitely living my dream. I can't lie.
It's what I want my
cool.
future to be like. Definitely in the scene.
No, honestly, like you can make it happen. Like don't get me wrong. It's like there's a lot of hard work, but like you're obviously like on the way to these sorts of things. So just kind of keep working hard, but enjoy it as well. I think, like I said, I was really, when I was younger, it was just I was always on to the next thing, and okay, like what's the next thing I need to achieve? What's the next thing? And that's great. And don't get me wrong, like you need to have that kind of like goals and the mindset to kind of keep pushing yourself. But it's really important to kind of every now and again just kind of stop and reflect and think, okay, like this is really cool, and this is like why am I here? Because I love it. And yeah, it's just I could talk all day about it, because you can see that I'm getting excited, because I am
very passionate about this. I'm
like a proper netball fangirl. Like that's how I was when I was a kid. So like to talk about it and know that I'm living that at the moment, it's I'm just really kind of grateful, and I just love it, to be honest. But like there's no reason that you can't do that as well. Like absolutely no reason at all. The sky is your limit, and you just have to kind of keep working hard, and just I think enjoying it is the most important thing as well, because enjoying what you do is huge, and like you won't improve if you're not enjoying yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I'm so much like you in the sense that when I can be overly critical of myself if there's maybe mistakes that I've made, but then I find myself not like celebrating the wins that I get, if that makes sense. I'm just like, oh yeah, I've got that. Okay, now how I'm going to prepare for my next thing. So I definitely think it's just like taking it in, like accepting and giving myself that time to like celebrate and acknowledge like what I've done, if that makes sense. So with that, say, I'm sure in your career you may have faced some rejection of like some sort, like, because obviously that's, as athletes, that's always going to happen. So just kind of how mentally have you dealt with that in the past, like, and not just I feel like sometimes I hold on to things if like it doesn't go my way, and just like think about it like a lot. It's like just kind of how you deal with it, if that makes sense.
I've definitely had plenty of rejections throughout my netball career. I guess it's sometimes I think in the moment it's really hard, because like naturally you want to be selected for teams, or if I played badly, I think in the moment it can be quite hard then, because you have all of these overwhelming emotions that are attached with it. But I guess again it's kind of allowing yourself to feel like that initially, because like it's normal if you've not been selected for a team, it's okay to be upset about that, or it's okay to be disappointed, but then it's okay, like how am I gonna move on from this? And I think just being kind to yourself first and foremost is really important, because again, it's really easy if you've played badly to start beating yourself up, and that, I've done that myself. I used to be I am still critical of myself, but I used to be really critical of myself when I was younger. So I guess it's just reminding yourself like what you're good at, and I think now I'm a bit older, it's a bit easier. But when I was younger, I think like use your support network. So whether that's your coach or like your parents or your friends or your teammates, and maybe if you are like kind of struggling, and if you've had a bad game or like you've not been selected for a team, just have that kind of conversation with them and say, okay, like what do you think I did well in the game today? And like you can give them that feedback as well. I think that's something that's like really helpful, is just reminding yourself what you're good at, because I think sometimes if you have like a rejection or like you lose a game and you throw the ball away, like that's all you can focus on, and you forget that there's been 59 other minutes of the game where you've probably done some really good stuff as well. And I guess, yeah, like if it is a selection that you haven't been successful in that particular moment with, I guess it's like getting the feedback from them, and then going away and just working on that, and kind of, it's always nice to prove people wrong, I think. So just like keep working hard, and I guess it also kind of reminds you of why you're doing it in the first place. I guess like that allows you to kind of, initially it's tough, but then you can almost reflect and think, okay, like why am I doing this? Why am I training a million times a week? And you can say, okay, like this and this, cool, let's get on with it and let's do it. And I want to play for England seniors one day. I want to take Serena Guthrie's bib off her. Like, that's what you're saying. That's what you've just said to me. You want to be there. You want to do it. So like that's what you have to do. You have to remind yourself of those things, and then be like, okay, like, let's go, let's do it.
Yeah, definitely. In a couple of years, I'll be like, I'm coming for Gabby. I wanna big.
Yeah, that's it. I'm coming for those other players, those senior players that I'm training with at the moment, and then you can come for me, and then that's how it works. That's it. That's the competition. It's good.
Finding out all your tips and secrets.
I know I'll regret it if you when you come in and training alongside me in a few years. I'll be thinking, damn it, Izzy's good, man. Izzy's good.
And obviously, where you play in like the Super League and like international level, like how does it feel like playing with the crowds? Because I'm always there like sitting like cheering, but how does it feel like when you're actually playing with like that many people like watching you and everything?
Yeah. No, I guess you kind of, I think when you first step out, so I remember like some of the biggest crowds I played in, I think when I was in Australia and we played Fast Five, I think the first time I kind of walked into the arena and the crowd was there. So we, luckily, like with tournaments like that, you get to go and you do, it's called surface training. So you go in, and if it's like a big arena, you go kind of in the day before the game, and you get to kind of train on the court. So it's similar like at the Copper Box. If we have test series there, like you'll go and do surface training either that morning. So you get to kind of see, obviously I've played at the Copper Box quite a lot now, but different venues, you get to kind of go and see the court, and like, particularly if you're abroad, it's that kind of helps settle you a little bit, because you get used to the lights and that kind of stuff. Because I remember when I was young, like you said, you play outside a lot, like you play in sports halls, and then all of a sudden you're on this court and there's really bright lights, and you think like, whoa, like, this is different. So that kind of preparation helps. And then like the first time I stepped out beforehand, I think like games, sometimes when we have like the Super League season openers and there's like 10,000 people there, it's always like I do get nervous beforehand. And I think I try not to. When I was younger, I would go and like you can sit in the crowd, like if there's a game on before, and you can see all of the people, and I think that helped a little bit. But I guess it's depends on your personality, I suppose. Like that might make you feel more nervous if you then go and sit in it and see all of the people, and you think, whoa, like this is a lot. but I just think it's cool. Like you have to just everything, like all of these things, it comes down to like what you're telling yourself almost, and how you're thinking about it. So if you go into that game thinking, oh my goodness, there's 10,000 people sat here watching me, like they're watching everything I'm doing, they're watching me make a mistake, like that's going to make you feel anxious naturally. But if you just think, oh wow, like there's 10,000 people here because they love netball, like that'll probably make you feel like a bit more comfortable about it, and just like relax yourself a little bit. But I think at the end of the day, like that's the dream, I suppose, is like you're almost the entertainment, like they've paid to come and watch you play. So you have to just think, okay, like let's put on a show. And it takes time, and it takes experience, I suppose, to think like that. And don't get me wrong, like I still get nervous before games, but you just have to kind of think, okay, like they're here to watch the show, let's do it. And that's cool. And I guess once you start playing, you don't tend to notice those sorts of things, I suppose.
Even like parents on like watching, like I feel like you always kind of zone out eventually when you're playing.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a few times where I've been booed, and I thought, oh, okay, like that was at me. But then, like, I think it's just sometimes if you go for a ball and you're a little bit late, and then the crowd start booing, and you think, like that's like me, like they're booing me. But then I just kind of laugh about it, because I think, okay, like it's quite funny that they're engaged in the game, so that's good. But the first time it happened, I was like, oh, I've just been booed. Like, this is horrible. But it's all good.
I think definitely the fourth quarter, it's like the crowd comes alive. If it's a close game and everyone's cheering, everyone's so into it, I could just imagine, almost makes you want to like do it. You're like, I want to win because everyone's cheering, everyone's going, like.
Yeah. And that was the thing, like with COVID at the start of the season, obviously we didn't have crowds, so that was it. Almost then, it's funny because I've grown up never having a crowd, obviously, and then all of a sudden now it's like, okay, we need to learn how to play without a crowd again. And you think, well, I've probably played more of my life without a crowd than I have with a crowd.
Yeah.
But then, I guess like it's like everything. You just kind of have to adapt to it, and just kind of make the best of the situation, I suppose. But it was definitely nice to have fans back towards the end of the season. Like you said, they kind of spur you over the line when it's getting close. So that's really cool, like that energy that you get from the crowd.
And how was it, just kind of this, obviously the season was very like weird with like COVID and everything, like just how was it like playing this season? Like,
no, it was so different to normal, but obviously again, like just feels really fortunate and kind of honored, I guess, to be able to still play, because I know, like, obviously you, for example, you've not been able to play for so long, and there's so many people out there that have just not been able to play the sport that they love. So like you had to kind of I didn't have to remind myself of that, because I knew that was the situation, but that's like something that was always in my mind, was okay, well, like the league was challenging, because we had to have COVID tests a lot, like twice a week, and then we had to travel to Leeds, obviously, for a lot of the season, and then the second half of the season was in London, so it was so different to a normal season. But like just so grateful to be able to still play and kind of keep competing, because like you know yourself, that's the fun part. Like you want to be able to get out there and play with your teammates. So just really fortunate, I guess, to be able to still compete and go out there and do the business.
Just so cool, because it almost felt more professional this season, because there was just so much in place. Like from watching it at home, it's like they've done this, like just felt kind of cool and like professional and everything. Like
no, it was not, like, obviously, because they were able to, because there was no fans, they were able to stream all of the games. So like that was nice for the fans, I guess, to be able to watch everything. But then on the flip side of that, it almost meant, like, it took a while, I guess, for players to kind of like be used to that, almost that level of scrutiny, because normally not every game was on TV, so I guess that was again like something that you had to learn to embrace and accept, was that there was a lot more kind of noise, I guess, around your performances, and like social media, people were saying all sorts of stuff about different teams and different players. So that like was a big learning for some of my teammates this year, and like I ended up spending a lot less time on Twitter, for example, because like it was just, there was too much netball chat going on, and there was too much like conversation about teams and what people were doing, and so that was really important for me to kind of learn that lesson, I suppose, of like, we all do it, like we sit on our phone and we kind of scroll, and before you know it, you've spent an hour on social media, and then for me, like if that was an hour on social media and it was all netball gossip and netball chat, then that was just so unhealthy, I suppose. So definitely kind of logged out of social media a lot more this season, which I think is a good thing to do sometimes. And just like kind of read a lot more, and went for more walks and
more mindful.
100%. Like I spend a lot of time doing like mindfulness meditation, and that was definitely like something that's really helped me this year, and kind of all the uncertainty with COVID and everything else, like just kind of being more present, I think is really important.
Yeah, definitely. Gonna start to limit my. I spend a lot of time on social media. Might try and read a book, go out.
yeah. So I've got a book here next to me that I'm reading. But it's like, this is it again. Like when we're on camp, because in the evenings we have a bit more time. So then it's like, okay, well, what are you doing in that free time? So like for me, it's really cool to be on this call with you and like chat and kind of share experiences. No, honestly, like I learn just as much from you as you learn from me, so it's really cool.
And also, just interested, I always have these discussions with people. If you weren't the position that you were playing, what do you think you'd play? Like what position would you play?
I'd like to play goalkeeper if I was taller, and like could jump. If I could jump like Razia Kwashi, my teammate at Mavericks, then that would just be the dream. Yeah. But yeah, I'd love to play keeper actually, which is weird because I'm not naturally more of a centre. You wouldn't think that I would say keeper, because it's quite confined.
I feel like it's another underrated position, kind of like wing defence, because you don't necessarily always get like the glory like interception, especially you go out hunting, but it's like the work they do around the body is insane to like
get.
I'm like, oh my gosh, like wow.
Yeah, no, it's true. What would you pick if you could pick another one? I mean, it sounds like you played a lot of them, so.
I've started as a goal shooter, quickly realised that wasn't for me, moved down the court, but I don't know, because it's always a running joke, like, you know, whenever you like mix up positions, if you play like friendly matches, I always go as like a goal attack, because, you know, just shoot it, I feel like you get a lot of the glory. But then when you actually like look at it, I feel like there's so much pressure on shoot, like to be a shooter, there's so much pressure in those like high stakes situation. I don't know, I still like to try it there, I feel like it'd be cool, but definitely a defender.
No, I like, shooters get a lot of stick, don't they, for being princesses, but I couldn't do it. I take my hat off to them, because the pressure is next level, and like they're the ones that have to score the goals, so I wouldn't want to do that. It's too much pressure.
You got like literally like the Commonwealth Games, how there was no time, she's got to take that shot, I would have bottled, it would have gone off the back line, like with that kind of pressure.
No, fair play to them. Not my cup of tea, that.
But obviously when you were like getting into netball, have you always been like a centre court? Have you kind of like mixed around, or like, I don't really know how it, like when you got into netball?
I did play goal attack actually, but mainly because we had like a tall shooter, so I would just pass the ball to them a lot of the time. But yeah, like I think when I was probably like 12 or so, I moved out to centre then, and probably stuck there for the most part. yeah, kind of centre wing defence has been where I've played then for quite a while now. But yeah, I didn't enjoy goal attack. I enjoyed passing and like
Making goals.
creating, like playmaking. But I didn't I didn't put up many shots, that's for sure. And if I did, I always remember just like shaking and thinking, oh my goodness, and then it would always go short, and I just thought, it's not for me.
I feel like goal attacks always play with so much flair. Like they're always at the top of the circle, and like even when you're feeding in, they're like, oh, and then they're coming back in, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah. No, they do well, to be fair to them. They do well.
Oh, gosh, well, I feel like that's kind of a lot of my. I don't know if there's any more. I feel like I've had a good like chat. I don't really have.
Yeah, no worries.
Are you sure?
Yeah, no, that's cool. If you think like, I'm happy for you to, I don't know if you've got Instagram or Twitter, but like just get in touch if you have any kind of other questions that you think of, like anything heading into the competition that you kind of want to chat about, then
I'll take you off offer, definitely.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, happy to help anytime.
This is honestly like, thank you. This has been literally amazing. Found out so much, like been so fun. Like, I don't know. But like it could be, I was a bit nervous before, but like it has genuinely like, I don't know, it's just been really good. Thank you for that.
No, that's all right, no worries. Yeah, I think hopefully we can have another one just before you compete. So that'd be cool just to kind of check in beforehand and see how you're getting on.
Nerves.
Oh no, you'll be great.